Literally, I'm sitting in front of my open balcony and it feels like I am talking to the tree in front of me, which is very cozy because the sun is also setting over there and I'm just sitting in this golden light and it makes me feel like a fairy. And I also have my plants in front of me who are about to bloom, which is just so cute. So cute. I have notes and I have thoughts that I'm going to share. I'm going to start with reading something I wrote 2 months ago. I've been thinking a lot about the anatomy of a desire. Ever since I learned the word desire, I thought it meant something bad, something filthy, a taboo you shouldn't say, something unholy, and something sinister. That's very Christian of me to say having desire is a sin. But I also like to think that a desire is part of intuition. I mean, it can be if it comes from within. You can desire something just because you see others having it, so it makes you believe you will be better having it too. What is a desire even? A want or a need? A hunger and a thirst. To own something, to be something, to see, feel, hear, or taste it. Desire is a craving for an experience. Isn't that the whole point of life though? Our consciousness is conscious to experience itself. Then desire is nothing but the driving force of this engine that is the universe, is the fuel we run on. Desire is behind motivation, creativity, love, growth, expression, learning, war, travel, everything humans do, even devotion. Your decision to give up personal pleasures for your so called God is coming from a place of self righteousness. You crave the acceptance from your higher power. Without God's helping hand, you feel lost. You desire a purpose, a cause to dedicate your life to, your sense of meaning. I think it's important to understand a desire clearly in a very detailed way down to its bones. Where does it come from? What general feeling am I trying to fulfill with achieving this? Who is this going to satisfy? Who do I have to be for this? Who am I now? And what else can give me what I want? Thinking about this and just thinking about nowadays how I've been feeling, I got a little lost in everyday worries, and I know this is something everyone can basically relate to when you feel a bit out of touch with yourself or out of touch with your inner world because you get caught up in the small things. It's easy to fall into the hole of obsessing over material things like money, validation, when you want a certain career path or you want a certain type of affection from a certain someone in your life. But at the same time, it's okay to want things, and you kind of need to want things because if you didn't want things, you would just not do anything. You would not have the drive to live a life. You would just be existing without experiencing anything. So it gets a bit confusing because some people say, oh, you have to really know what you want with your life. You have to know how to get it. You have to be strategic and have your plan ready and do all your work and never give up. And that's when you're going to get whatever you want. But there are also people who say the exact opposite, like in religion, that desire is a sin and you have to be humble about it. You have to be humble about your life and you have to not reach so far or dream very big and you have to know your place. The way I kind of try to separate these two ideas or these two perspectives is to break down, trying to break down the anatomy of a desire. I believe knowing what to do and knowing what you want the outcome to be of your doings are two very different things. So, by that I mean, to put it into a metaphor, you can be very certain, or you should be very certain about your destination, where you are going, what you want to achieve, and how that looks like, while you don't have to be that certain or that detailed or that exact about the road that you have to take to reach that destination. For example, hustle culture says that you have to plan out the entire way and you have to take baby steps and you have to always know where you are going in order to achieve your goals. This is going to be a little woo-woo here, but I believe you should actually just give up on that. You have to give up on the mapping. You just have to think about the destination. You have to be very, very exact about the destination. And that's the only thing you have to focus on. And you kind of have to ignore whatever the map says, and you just have to let the road lead you. I will explain. This is kind of similar idea to how manifestation works, which I don't want to go too woo-woo about it because this is not the point. But if you think about the way manifestation works, you set a very strong intention about what you want the end result to be, but then you basically let go of all the ideas of how you're going to get it or how it's going to manifest. The reason I believe this makes life easier for me when I think about it like this is because there isn't only one way of doing something, and usually the right way is something you don't even know about or something you can't even imagine. It's something completely out of your imagination, that out of reach for your imagination. It's something you would never even consider being a possibility. And that's because there are endless possibilities, and life will always be able to surprise you with a new one. Even if you think there is no way out, like you're in deep shit and there is some unresolvable problem arising in your life right now, I'm pretty sure if you just focus on it, on the fact that it's gonna get fixed, and you trust that it's gonna get fixed, some unexpected situation or information is going to come across you that will help you find a new way you didn't know existed before to really solve what you were trying to do before. For example, this is just a small story that my best friend told me about her brother accidentally booking accommodation for their vacation on the wrong date, and they thought they cannot refund it anymore, and their money is lost, and that they're never going to see that money again, and that it's all like totally hopeless. But then my best friend found that the person who they booked the accommodation from scammed them, because the place wasn't exactly where it said on the map. So they could report the person for a completely different reason, which was like so unexpected. And they were like, you wouldn't even think about that, and then that just happened, and now they have their money back. So that's just a very silly example of what life can surprise you with. But to be able to do this and like go with the flow, as people also say, I guess, to try and make peace with the idea that you as a human being have a very limited knowledge about the world and a limited way of experiencing the world. This also sounds a bit woo-woo now. Bear with me. Your brain is very smart, and you can get smarter, you can learn, you can study all you want, you can be very logical, and you can acquire as much information as humanly possible, but you will die one day. But you will never know enough, kind of. You will never know everything, and some things are just beyond our comprehension, some things are just beyond our dimensions, and you cannot really explain, but some things you can kind of feel or kind of know, and there are things you maybe can't even put into words. There are things you might not even understand ever, and you just have to kind of make peace with that, accept a lot of things just being the way they are, while still kind of doing your best to make yourself understand, but like not try too hard to understand. So like accept if you don't understand. I wanted to mention some examples from my own life. I have made a video about this as well at the beginning of the year, of the kind of bucket list I wrote for my 2025. And now that half a year has passed, I feel very different about most of the things on that list, and I feel like some things are just not even worthy to put on a list anymore. But I wrote this, funnily enough, I also wrote this entry in January, so literally a couple days after I made that video. It really only clicked for me a couple weeks ago. There was a loud car. It is very obvious that the only thing I ever really wanted has been love. Being able to appreciate the love I get from others and radiating love back into the world through my actions. I feel that it is important for me to remind myself of this infinite source of energy, which is also the black hole at the end of the universe where every road leads, to make everyday worries seem a bit less like the absolute end of the world. I feel drawn to creative self-expression. I express myself, and this self of mine has always been full of love energy. If you ask others, they will also say this, I'm sure. Yes, I've made my own fair share of mistakes, but I have never been the kind of person to wish bad fortune upon others. Even if there is an individual I don't vibe with, I rather decide to mind my own business and let them be unless I can make a positive impact on them. My intentions always point towards harmony. Harmony to me is the most sustainable state of abundance. Harmony is where love becomes constant, the purest form of energy. Bringing the focus back to my physical world, I have found myself upset on multiple occasions for constantly thinking about boys or looking for a love interest. Even when I admit that my attempts of dating, at least for the past 2 years, have been a waste of time and energy, when I give up real-life crushes, I find myself back to fangirling over K-pop idols, or actors, or book characters. I just need to have a human being in front of me that I can center this loving energy around. I have been trying to shift this focus on myself. Now I think I can admit that it's not so simple, and I don't think self-love can ever be put equal to interpersonal relationships. I do love myself. It's true I got better at showing it to myself in the past couple of months. I have become more patient, understanding, and honest within, but I know I loved myself while I was in a relationship too. My relationship wasn't causing my lack of compassion for myself. They moved on separate planes. Realizing this led me to admit that I don't have to force myself to be single to protect my peace. I am protecting my energy from people who don't deserve it only. If someone came who matched my energy, I would give it to them in a heartbeat. Community is important. Humans aren't meant to live an isolated life. I have to channel more energy into that aspect of my life. In the meanwhile, I think it is okay to find silly crushes and other forms of love outlets. And then I wrote in a bracket, more on this later. I gotta watch Ratatouille with Anita. And we did go to watch Ratatouille with my best friend Anita, which was super fun, super wholesome activity. I do recommend. So how does this connect to my list, my bucket list for 2025? I started reflecting on a lot of things, why I want them, the questions I read out in the first entry, and I realized that the only thing I ever really wanted has been love, meaning no matter how much I go around asking myself like, okay, but what is the meaning of this? Somehow it always goes back to, oh, I just want to feel the love that I give to others, or I just want to feel the love that I get from others. I just want to feel the sense of community, and I want to feel happy, and I want to feel joy, and I want to be able to share that with people. And I want other people to appreciate that and feel that love as well. And that is basically at the core of each of my desires. But the ending thought I wanted, because the sun is also setting, although it sounds overly complicated, or it sounds like a lot of work to really think about these and to reflect on these, the more deeply you think about it, the more you realize it is actually not that deep. And that's kind of the entire core of spirituality and being in the present moment and mindfulness, is that the more you concentrate on it and the more you really focus on it, the more you realize that there is actually nothing, like the noise disappears and the overcomplication of the material world disappears, and you realize that it's literally just love and happiness and positive energy at the core of it all. And that is the driving force that you need, or that is the motivation, or that is the destination you are trying to reach. I think that is it for today. If you listen to all this yap, thank you so much, and I'm so happy I could share that. My chest feels a lot lighter now, and I will be back yapping again about my thoughts later. Stay safe.